Welcome back to the review section. So to talk a little bit more about the article, it seems like this wasn't the only case. In fact, this police brutality against black people has been an ongoing situation, and it didn't look like it was going to de-escalate. However, this one in particular seemed to make people come around, and now there's a lot of public attention and people are really wanting changes within the American society.
De-escalate.
De-escalate.
Come around.
Come around.
Right, and there has been a phrase going around which is defund the police.
Ah, you're right.
So the City Council of Minneapolis actually announced their plans to defund the police and create a new one with a new model from the ground up.
Right.
However, this has been received with some backlash from politicians who have basically said that doing such a thing is infeasible.
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 For example, like New York City have a $6 million budget for their police department, which is huge. So you'd think that defunding could happen. But saying it's infeasible is also met with a lot of backlash, whereas $2 billion has been cut from other areas such as education, which could be seen as more valuable in the long run.
Right. I don't know if defunding the police is the right way to go about it. However, there needs to be something done. Police violence is definitely a big thing to address for the public because we look upon the police as sort of our real-life superheroes. However, if we're going to look at the police in a bad way, who do we turn to? In England, was there ever a problem with police violence? I know that, is it England that doesn't have, police don't carry guns within the UK, right?
No. There are some officers or the armed forces that can get involved if things escalate too far. However, your ordinary police officer will never have a gun. Or maybe a gun with like rubber bullets. But there's ranks and there's grades inside the police, so they require additional training, qualifications to get guns, but it never gets that far. Usually things are dealt with a taser or pepper spray. Yeah. How about in Australia?
As far as I know, there hasn't been too many incidences with police violence. I know that it can look bad depending on the protests. There were a few different protests going through Australia over the years, and the police would have to take sort of a violent action because those protests would turn into riots, and therefore the police would have to use excessive force, but not to the extent of America. Though, even though Australia's police do have an arsenal of weapons, they very rarely use it, and I believe this is kind of being biased that Australian police seem to be more well-trained than American police. I know that it's not even easy to get into the police. Personally, a person who's done the test as well, it's not easy to get in there. There's a lot more testing, there's a lot more training involved from what I've seen from the outside. But talking more about the violence within America at the moment, and especially the police, why do you think police are being violent towards the protests that are happening with the Black Lives Matter?
Well, I think there's two reasons. I think, there's a lot of good police, definitely in America, but there's also a lot of bad police, obviously. And these officers have taken it as being anti-police, basically.
Right.
And like, as in people are attacking them, which is sort of true because people do want police to suffer the consequences of their actions, which any human being should have to go through. But as you said earlier, it seems like they're getting off with a slap on the wrist. So people have a lot of anger towards the police.
Yeah, I would also have to agree with you there. I think with certain protests, we've seen that actually some protests are not actually quite related to the George Floyd incident. Some people are just being a little bit rebellious and just going out and creating riots just for the hell of creating a riot. So therefore I know that certain police have sort of taken that as an attack on them, and so therefore it might have spread to the peaceful protests. And when the peaceful protests become a little bit hostile, that's when the police might get a little bit defensive and may lash out towards them. What do you think this has done for the public perception of police then?
It's only created a very negative perception.
Yep.
I think trust in police has dropped to an all-time low.
Yep.
Definitely, especially in America.
Yep.
I do feel as though in England has been affected a little bit.
Yeah.
Because this just spread worldwide.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's only negatively affected the perception of police.
I would have to agree with you as well. It seems that for some reason a lot of countries are also getting their ideas from America, which I don't believe that they should. That yes, there are bad police within each force and we need to find a way to remove them from the police force. However, I do believe that most police out there are really wanting to do a good job and wanting to help the sort of public. Anyway, that wraps it up for today's review section, and we will see you on the next unit.